Before I start with my presentation, I would like to give you some figures in order for you to get an overall picture of the traffic accidents in Europe and around the world. Traffic accidents are an important public health and development issue. Each year, 1.2 million people are killed worldwide, and between 20 and 50 million people are disabled or injured around the world. Road traffic accidents represent a large proportion of accidents in general in Europe. And according to the statistics, every year 50,000 people die on the roads of Europe, and around 3.5 million people get injured, of which 150,000 people are seriously injured. So this is a very big problem. And regarding cross-border accidents, especially the green card system, last year there were 350,000 accidents. And in Turkey alone, last year, 4,000 people died, and 270,000 people were injured in Turkey alone. So it's a very big problem, and besides the protection of victims, measures and initiatives are needed to reduce the number of traffic accidents. In this context, it is interesting to make a comparison between the Turkish MTPL system and the European one. When we talk about European MTPL system, it is not quite a uniform one, because there are significant differences between countries. But I would like to give you a general picture about the European system. The European Union has so far implemented 5 motor insurance directives aimed at better protection of EU citizens and the free movement of vehicles in the European Union. And these are fundamental for the free movement of vehicles and people around the European Union. The first 3 directives were adopted to establish a single market in the field of motor insurance and to better protect EU citizens, especially those citizens who are involved in cross-border accidents. They abolished insurance checks on borders and made it easier for people to travel around Europe. They also guaranteed better protection of victims, also including accidents which involve uninsured or unknown vehicles. The 5th Motor Insurance Directive complemented the system by creating a protection of visitors system, which is a platform where a victim which is involved in an accident outside of its country of residence can get quick settlement when he is involved in an accident. And the 5th Motor Insurance Directive has complemented the system by making some special categories of victims like pedestrians and cyclists, special victims who need more protection than regular car drivers. After this short introduction, I would like to start my presentation. And I would like to compare the limits in Turkey with limits in the European Union. For 2014, the limits for property damage in Turkey per vehicle is around 9,000 euros. And for per accident, it is around 18,000 euros. And for bodily injury, for per victim, it is around 90,000 euros. And depending on the vehicle category, for per accident, it is around 2,770,000 euros. And when we compare it with the limits in the European Union, starting from 2012, as most of you are aware, the limit for property damage is 1,120,000. irrespective of the number of victims or limit for per accident. And for bodily injuries, there are two alternatives: either 1,120,000 euros per victim, or 5,600,000 euros for per accident. So as you can see, especially regarding a limit for property damage, we have a very small, low limit compared to the European one, and this creates problems, especially in material damage accidents where the damage exceeds the amount, where the damage exceeds the limit, and in such cases, compulsory MTPL insurers don't have to pay anything. They don't pay over the limit amount, and the victim has to claim directly from the liable driver or the owner of the vehicle. So this is a problem in Turkey, the low limit. Police report versus constant amiable. As you know, in most of the European countries, there is a constant amiable, and police report is issued only when there are bodily injuries or death in accidents. Starting from 2008, the situation is similar in Turkey. So a police report doesn't have to be issued when there is only property damage involved in an accident. However, in some European countries, even though they use constant amiables, when one of the parties is a foreigner, a police report still has to be issued. Direct compensation system, this is an interesting case. It is applied in some European countries, including France and Italy, where the insured, where the damaged party can apply to his or her MTPL insurer directly and get compensation. In such a system, there is a recourse agreement between the insurers. It is not currently applied in Turkey, but there are some preparations and work going on to set up such a direct compensation system in Turkey. But it still has not been finalized. There is also a first part cover system in some countries, a few countries I can say, including Sweden, where the injured driver is compensated by the MTPL insurer, irrespective of the fault of the driver. Truck-trailer situation. In Turkey, trailers which are not used to carry passengers are not required to be insured by a separate MTPL policy. Trailers are not considered as motor vehicles in Turkey. Therefore, they are covered by the MTPL insurer of the truck they are attached to. They don't have to be covered by a separate MTPL policy, which is different from most of the European countries, where the trailers need to be covered by separate MTPL policies. In Turkey, this creates a problem because when the truck is not identified, there is no insurer to compensate the victim. The victim can apply to the guarantee fund, but the Turkish guarantee fund unfortunately doesn't pay compensation for property damage. It pays compensation only for bodily injuries. The situation in the European Union varies from country to country, but as I told you, in most cases, trailers are required to be covered by a separate MTPL policy, different from the Turkish case. And in most countries, when they are attached to a truck, the truck's MTPL insurer compensates the victim. And if the truck cannot be identified, usually the guarantee fund pays the compensation. In other countries, the victim is free to choose to apply either to the truck's insurer or to the trailer's insurer. In Germany, for instance, according to the decision of the Supreme Court of Germany, this liability distribution is 50-50% between the truck and trailer's insurer, and it is divided as 70-30% in Spain. Total loss, car hire costs, and loss of use. Regarding total loss, there is no specific criterion in Turkey about what constitutes a total loss. In general, it is damage beyond repair, or if repair costs exceed the replacement value of the vehicle. However, in some countries, there are some definitions regarding the total cost and some criteria. For instance, in Germany, if the repair costs exceed 130% of the replacement value of the vehicle, or 80% in Bulgaria, then the vehicle is considered a total loss. Car hire costs and loss of use is not covered by the MTPL insurance, compulsory MTPL insurance in Turkey. Again, this is the problem in some cases. In many European countries, the victim can choose to apply either for car hire costs or loss of use. But some countries have restricted the victim to either apply for loss of use or car hire costs only when the vehicle is used for business purposes. Time to make an offer to settle a claim. According to the Turkish legislation, the MTPL insurer has to compensate the victim in 8 working days on condition that all necessary documents are provided to the MTPL insurer. And in the European Union, according to the European Union directives, the insurer has a time limit of 3 months to make a reasoned reply to the victim, starting from the date of the claims notification. Cost of medical treatment, starting from 2011, MTPL insurance companies transfer in advance 15%, around 15% of their MTPL premiums to the Social Security institution, and they no longer pay for compensation regarding bodily injury claims. And these medical treatments are covered directly by the hospitals and social insurance security. And all hospitals are required to provide treatment free of charge to any victim of a traffic accident in Turkey. In some European countries, there is a similar system, but in the majority of the countries, there is no advance transfer of funds from the MTPL insurers. The Social Security institution provides treatment to the victim and then has a right of recourse against the liable insurer. Loss of earnings and funeral expenses in all countries, including Turkey, these are covered. Compensation for pain and suffering or moral damage. Unfortunately, this is not covered by the compulsory Turkish MTPL insurance, which is a big problem in Turkey. And the victim has to claim it directly from the liable driver or owner of the vehicle, but he cannot claim it from the MTPL insurer. I mean compulsory MTPL insurers, because they don't pay it, they don't have to pay it according to the Turkish legislation. In the European countries, except Malta, all countries cover this kind of loss category. But the level of compensation differs from country to country. Some countries use table systems, like France or Italy or Spain. But in others, there is no table system, and courts have a very big say in deciding in the compensation level. The Turkish Guarantee Fund, as I told you, doesn't pay compensation for property damage. Only when an insurer has gone bankrupt, and only then the Guarantee Fund is required to pay compensation for property damage. Otherwise, it pays compensation only for disability or death situations. It is in contrast with European guarantee funds, which pay irrespective of the damage category, property damage or bodily injury. So this is one of the insufficiencies of the Turkish guarantee fund. Legal costs and court fees. In Turkey, when there is an out-of-court agreement, lawyers' fees of the victim are not paid by the MTPL insurer. Only when the case has been brought to court, then court fees are paid by the losing party, and also a certain percentage of the victim's lawyers' fees are paid. But otherwise, in out-of-court situations, these are lawyers' fees, especially, are not paid. In Europe, the situation differs from country to country.
Ismail, sorry, it's now 15 minutes.
Okay. In most of them, court fees are paid by the MTPL insurer of the losing party. And regarding out-of-court settlements, again, it depends on the country. Liability law in Turkey, when you are involved in a traffic accident, you can apply for compensation to either to the liable driver, to the liable owner of the vehicle, or to the liable MTPL insurer. Strict liability is applied in respect of the operator of the vehicle. However, in order of the operator of the vehicle to be liable, the driver has had to break a traffic rule, which means that in respect of the driver, fault-based liability is applied in Turkey. Some countries, some EU countries have adopted a strict liability system. And in some countries, especially in France, when you are involved in an accident, it doesn't, you don't have to be liable, or you don't have to even have to to break a traffic rule. When you are involved in an accident, according to the legislation, you have to pay anyway, or your MTPL insurer has to compensate the victim anyway. And in some Scandinavian countries, their MTPL system resembles a social security system, and their starting point is that a person is a member of the society, and irrespective of whether he is at fault or not, he or she has to be compensated. But many European countries have adopted a mixed system, which fixes fault-based liability system with a strict liability system. And as a result, many of these countries, in fact, combine two systems. Thank you very much for listening.